Broadcasting live to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch, and so much more. This is Go Live with Restream from your host, Ian Anderson Gray, the show that helps you expand your audience and reach through the power of multi-streaming video.
And hello, everybody! Welcome to the Go Live with Restream show. Where is my applause? There we go. Great to be here. Welcome to the Go Live with Restream show. This is the show that helps you expand your audience and reach through the power of multi-streaming video. In today's show, I'm joined by Janet Murray to talk about how to create multi-streamed virtual events with success. Now, this year, 2020, I'm not going to say too much about 2020, but many in-person events all around the world have either been cancelled or postponed due to the pandemic. And some have had to make the decision to go virtual. Now, I don't know about you. I'd be interested to know what you think about this. Do you prefer virtual conferences or do you prefer in-person conferences? Have you been to any really good virtual conferences? I'd love to know. Just put it in the comments. Because the thing is, virtual conferences are often seen as being far less effective than in-person events. And there's kind of a danger of, dare I say it, death by Zoom. But is that really the case? Does it have to be that way? No, it certainly doesn't. And I'm really excited to have British marketer and entrepreneur Janet Murray on the show to talk about this, because she's put on two highly successful virtual events very recently, and I'm going to talk to her about that. But before I bring her on, just to let you know, as always, we're broadcasting to a plethora of different destinations, including Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, Periscope, DLive, Mixcloud, and so much more. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know where in the world you're watching from. I can see that Connie is here, watching from Charlotte in beautiful North Carolina. Got Igor here saying hey, and we've got the fabulous Scott Ayres. You definitely need to check Scott's new show on Restream, which unfortunately I couldn't make this Monday, but I believe it went awesomely. So that's awesome. That's great. Who else have we got here? Let's just have a quick look. Scott is saying, are you using Restream Live Studio? How did you do the claps? Well, yes. Am I allowed to tell you? Yes, I am. Yes, I am using Restream Studio. Absolutely. But I've got a Stream Deck as well. So I've got the audio being plugged in there. We've got Rock here watching from the UK. Apparently, audio lag, Rock is saying. I haven't had any audio lag. It seems to be okay with me. But yeah, I will double check that. And we've got the fabulous Martin Buckland watching from Toronto. So just to let you know, this show is powered as always by Restream Studio. Do check out Restream at iag.me/Restream. There is a caption for this. There we go. iag.me/Restream. It's awesome. It allows you to broadcast to loads of different destinations. In fact, over 30 different destinations. You can use Restream Studio, which allows you to bring on guests, up to 9 guests onto your show. And I'm going to be bringing in Janet in just a second. So it allows you to do that. You can also see all the comments from all the different places that you broadcast to, which is absolutely amazing. So definitely check out Restream at iag.me/Restream. Well, I think it's time to bring in Janet, just to let you know a little bit more about Janet Murray, who is a fabulous, fabulous entrepreneur living in the UK, just like me. And Janet's been putting on quite a few events virtually recently, and she helps entrepreneurs, coaches, and creatives build and monetize their online audience. She's a podcaster, author, and speaker who has spoken all around the world about content, strategy, marketing, and building online audiences. And she is the creator of the Media Diary, a content planning tool for coaches, consultants, experts, and entrepreneurs. Janet, welcome to the show. Let's have some more cheering. If it's it's not going to work. There we go. No, there we go. Let's do this.
I was going to take that really personally then. I was going to be really offended.
I know. It's yeah, when the tech doesn't go quite so well, it's on that. It doesn't always work. Anyway, welcome to the show. It's been great to see you here. We're going to be talking about virtual events. And if you have any questions, by the way, on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever you are, just let us know in the comments. Have you been to any events this year virtually? What was your experience? We'd love to know about that. So, Janet, you have this big event. Well, you have quite a few events. Tell me, if this wasn't 2020, what would you be doing? How would your in-person events? What would you be doing?
So generally, I run one big event a year, which is, well, this year it was 2021 sorted. Last year it was 2020 sorted. You get the picture. It's an annual content planning event. So I bring together. Usually, it's about 150 entrepreneurs, coaches, creatives. This year we were due to go up to about 400 or 500 this year, and obviously then COVID happened, which changed the game a little bit, and so we were left with a decision really. So we were due to hold the event live up in Newcastle in the north of the UK, and by the summertime it became really apparent that we were not going to be able to hold a large event in person. So we decided to take it online. And do you want me to share a little bit about how we did it and how that came about?
Well, yeah. Before you do that, though, I'm kind of interested to know the thought process when you were thinking about, what obviously the decision that you couldn't hold it in person was kind of obvious, because of where things were, particularly in the UK. There was the lockdown and that wasn't going to happen. But what was going through your mind? I mean, you could have cancelled it, couldn't you? You could have cancelled it. You could have postponed it. And I know a lot of people are doing that. And there is this thing about virtual events. I mean, they don't get the best of, yeah, they don't get a good press, do they? So I would be interested, before you go into like the process, like what was going through your mind?
So you're right in saying that, virtual events don't always get the best press, and I was very much aware of that. But I was also aware of the fact that, none of us have been able to get out to in-person events this year, which is pretty rubbish if you can't get out and meet people in person. And actually, from a financial point of view, it probably would have been better for me to cancel. It probably would have been cheaper, and I would have lost a few £1,000s, and it would have been disappointing. But I really felt that it was important. It's a content planning event. Like, we come together, we plan out our content for. I have this diary that I sell. It's a physical planner, and the idea is to get everybody together and to plan. And I just thought, like, everybody needs this, and everybody needs to get together, and everybody, I just felt like, it's easy to say, isn't it? Oh, well, virtual events aren't very good. And I kind of thought, well, I think I can create a virtual event that is really good and that people really do want to come to. So I guess I had this vision, and I had this idea that virtual events didn't have to be dreary Zoom calls. I immediately thought of you, Ian, obviously, and my first step was to hire Ian, to hire you to be a professional event producer, because obviously you'd worked with me on other projects before, and I could see that, I mean, I'd not used any of the tools to their full potential, but I could see how we could use them. And it really just came, I just had this vision, I just had this idea that we could create something that was really great and that people really needed it, but it was just going to involve a bit of rethinking. I pretty much felt that I'd already sold actually 150 tickets, and my gut was like, most people are actually probably going to be fine with this. They're going to realize they can't travel. And I think the thing about virtual events, and this is the thing I've learned from hearing about ones that have gone well and ones that haven't, is it does need to have a clear purpose. So because my event was about content planning and there was a clear outcome, like, come along to the event, you create your content plan for the coming year, I think it was easier to transfer online. If it had been more of a, hey, let's get together and talk about online marketing, that might have been different. But because we were still able to achieve that outcome, which was to create this content plan for the coming year. And I think that meant that there were very few people who came back and said, hey, this wasn't what you sold me. Very, very few people. I think most people understood that they could still get the same outcome. It's a different venue, if you like. Just a different venue.
No, I think that's important to say. And of course, everyone understands in 2020 that it's very, very hard to put on, it's almost impossible to put on virtual events. Sorry, not virtual events, in-person events. And so I think people are really understanding. And I wonder whether also the fact that, you'd had heard so much negativity about virtual events, there was obviously something in you that thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it a really good event. And if you just joined us, I can see we've got quite a few more live viewers who've just joined us. This is the Go Live with Restream show. I'm Ian Anderson-Gray. I'm joined by the fabulous Janet Murray. We're talking about virtual events, live events. And if you're wondering why we're talking about this on the Restream show, this is, we used live video. That was at the heart of this event, and using it, we actually used Restream for part of it. And these tools really, really help with giving it that buzz. And we're going to talk a little bit, I'm going to ask Janet a little bit more about the nuts and bolts and how she actually went about it. And, I can talk about that as well. But I can see we've got some more people watching. So I think I mentioned, like I said, hello to Darren watching from Southfield in Michigan, USA. Great. And Scott is saying he had 7 guests on the show yesterday. You're just now showing off, I think. So Rock asked the question. This is not related to what we're talking about. This is absolutely cool. If you've got any questions about live video, it doesn't have to be related to virtual events, but this question is, can a YouTube partner or Twitch affiliate stream to multiple platforms, or are we restricted by the agreement? Now, from what I gather, and I'm sure the Restream team will be able to answer this question more fully, but if you are a Twitch partner, if you're on the affiliate scheme, you can't go live to other platforms at the same time. If you're just a standard Twitch user, like I am, I'm going live to Twitch as well. That's absolutely fine. As far as a YouTube partner, that does not restrict you. So you can go live to YouTube and other channels at the same time. It's just if you are a Twitch partner. So I can see that Karen is here. Karen is here, and she says, hi, great to see you. So do let us know where in the world you're watching from. We're talking about virtual events today. So if you've got any questions about virtual events, and also I'd love to know, nobody's actually said this yet in the comments, have you been to a really amazing virtual event? If so, let us know, and what stood out about it. And have you been to a really bad virtual event? Probably don't tell us which one. That might be a bit rude, but you can tell us what wasn't quite so good about that. I can see some other comments coming through. I can see Jan is there. I will get back to you, Jan, but I just want to carry on asking Janet a little bit more about the next stage. So you'd made the decision to go virtual with 2021 sorted, and this had been planned. You'd planned the event over a year in advance, but obviously you had to. When did you make the decision to go virtual?
So we announced in the summer to our delegates, so 150 or so who had already bought tickets. So we emailed them and told them we were moving online. And I think the first thing for me was about reassuring people that this was going to be a really great virtual event. So I talked to them about you and how I'd hired you, and how it wasn't going to be a succession of dreary Zoom calls because you were going to be doing it. No pressure.
Yeah, and I have to say, I think I talked to you about this before. I went to the website and there was a big image of me there. I think, it's going to be great because Ian is going to be live producing it. I think no pressure at this stage. But anyway, carry on.
So I think it was important to reassure people that, and I had to think a little bit about the programming and formatting. So normally my content planning event is a 2-day event. We're all in the same room learning together. And what I had to do was to have a little rethink about that, because I thought, well, online, actually, it's quite intense. So to be full time, in a conference room, and I think a lot of conferences in person, I actually think a lot of them are too long anyway. So I only ever run mine from 10 till 4. But I thought online, actually, asking people to take 2 days out, although it's a great thing, it's actually possibly not that realistic. So I rejigged the schedule a little bit. So we put the planning on day 2, and then I kind of thought, well, one of the first things I did was book a load more speakers, because I thought, actually, the thing that people are really going to miss, we're still going to be able to stream all of the keynote talks, and I brought in some extra workshops, which I'll tell you about in just a second. But the thing that people are really going to miss is the interaction and the chatting and the conversation. And how do you organize that without awkward, just sticking people in Zoom and Zoom rooms? So we did actually use Zoom. We ended up having 3 tracks. So I decided that day 1 would be almost like a fringe day. So I thought about my audience and what they're really interested in, and most of them have got a big content goal for 2021. that's generally launching a course, membership, no audience, quite well, YouTube channel, podcast, book, or whatever. So we had these like expert workshops on day one, and I kind of said to people, look, I really wouldn't recommend that you come to every single session, that you pick out 2 or 3 that you want to do. I immediately gave everybody access to all of the recordings for free. We'd normally sell those, and a membership of my 2021 Sorted Club, and we have sessions that go on through the year as well. So it's also about kind of like making people realize that it wasn't just about the day and we'd have a great event, but also they'd be supported throughout the year. So the day one was more about, you know, getting people into it and meeting people. So we had the main track, which was these expert workshops, and I recommended everybody chose like 2 or 3 to go to. Now we had a second track going on day one. This worked really well. So this was my, like, how do I get people to talk to each other in a way that isn't awkward? And also, how do I make the thing more buzzy, and how do I get more interaction? So I immediately booked about 30 more speakers, and we put on these sessions in a second track called Level Up Sessions, and these were basically focused. It sounds boring when you say discussion sessions. They weren't discussion sessions, but I came up with sort of 5 or 6 topics, which I thought are like, these are the things that people are really talking about when they're queuing up for their coffee and at the bar in the evening or over dinner. What are the things that people are talking about? Yes, they might be talking about like what they've just heard, but actually they might be talking more about, you know, things like dealing with tricky clients who aren't paying them. So I came up with these level up sessions. So one of them was about dealing with copycats and trolls. So I brought 4 speakers on, all entrepreneurs, to talk about their experience, and then we split people up into Zoom rooms to talk about them. We had one on running a business alongside a family. We had another one that was about managing your mental health as an entrepreneur. So we had this whole track going on, which was basically designed to encourage people to talk to each other and meet each other in a non-awkward way. So this was track 2. And those sessions were going on all day. And again, I recommended people just picked a few to go to. People loved them. Like, my favorite comment from the day, or the 2 days, was I feel like I've met so many new people and I haven't been anywhere. So that was great. So that was day 1. And then day 2 was our big planning day, and that's when we streamed. I mean, we streamed all of the keynote and the expert sessions into the Facebook group, didn't we, using Ecamm and using Restream. And that all worked brilliantly. But we also had day 2, we had everybody learning together. And again, I kept the days quite short, 10 till 4, because I think 9 till 5. I go to some conferences and I'm falling asleep by the end of it. We had plenty of breaks to give people a chance to, because I think it is more intense learning online. Had to give lots of people instructions about, you know, how to prepare, and, you know, making sure, it sounds silly, but making sure that they had a quiet space to focus on. So it did involve a lot more planning. I brought on 30 more speakers, but that meant that it gave us that opportunity for people to meet and talk and chat, which is a bit, I think, that people really miss from the live event experience.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. It's you know, events are great in terms of learning and going to really, really amazing presentations, but it's not just that. In fact, for me, the big thing about going to conferences and events is meeting people, and sometimes meeting people new. And one of the kind of, I was a bit taken aback when we did this, but I think it was, I don't know whether it was it the virtual bar that you had or something? And like we then went into like breakout rooms, and I was just like, it was just me and this other guy who we didn't know each other. We were just like talking, and it kind of felt a little bit weird for the first 30 seconds. But then we had, then I think we both realized we had so much in common. We were both at this event, and that was really good, because I think there was less of this. Sometimes when you go to an event, most of us tend to kind of go to the people we know, and these cliques can end up happening. And what I really liked about that was that it kind of forced you out of your comfort zone, and you met other people that you wouldn't normally talk to. So that was great. I could see Jan's been waiting very patiently. And I hope, by the way, Rock, I hope I answered your question well about Twitch and YouTube. Let me know what you're wanting to do there. I'd be really interested. So Jan asked a few minutes ago, how do I live stream to LinkedIn? So it really depends whether the LinkedIn gods have looked kindly down upon you and given you access to LinkedIn Live. If you haven't been given access to it yet, then unfortunately you can't. You just have to apply. Now, I don't know if Martin Buckland is in the room. I think he applied either 4 or 5 times and he got it anyway, he's now got it. So that's the first thing. You need to get access to it because it is currently in beta or beta, depending on how you pronounce it. So that's the first thing that you need to do. And then the second thing is you just need to have a tool to then broadcast to LinkedIn Live. You can't actually go live from the LinkedIn app or from the website. You have to use the third-party tool. And thankfully, Restream has that ability. So you can use Restream Studio. You can share your screen. You can share your webcam really easily and just choose LinkedIn as your destination. You need to make a choice, though. Are you going to go live to your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn page? And also, you've got the ability to go live to an event on your profile as well. So I hope that answers your question. Let me know if you've got LinkedIn Live, Jan. I'll be really interested to know. I know that you've got LinkedIn Live, and we've tested a little bit, but it's not been something you've embraced majorly. Let me know, Janet, about what you think about that.
Yeah, I got access quite early, so that was really nice, and I did make use of it quite a lot actually to start with. And it's not because I don't think it's great or anything. It's just, you know, I'm a podcaster. I've got podcasts coming out every week, and it's just a kind of about prioritizing times. But I know we've streamed my my event, not my event, but my recent Christmas market, which is the other event that I've run, and we streamed that to LinkedIn as well, didn't we? So yeah, I mean, I think it's great, and I used it a lot actually when it first came out, and thought it was great.
Yeah, no, it is good. It is good, and it's interesting. Heather Collins has said LinkedIn Live has a low reach compared to Facebook or YouTube. I think it kind of depends. It depends. So when I first got access last year, I got access quite early on, and the reach was amazing. It really was. Probably because it was a new thing, and I think obviously a lot more have got LinkedIn Live now. But I think it depends where your audience is. So like Martin Buckland, he says he applied 4 times. Patience is a virtue. You know, for Martin, he's been going live on Facebook regularly, but his audience aren't really so much on Facebook. They're on LinkedIn. That's where his audience is. So it kind of depends. And I assume you'd agree with that. It depends where your audience is, Janet.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, I was the same when I first got access to it. It was brilliant, and the reach was amazing, and it dropped off a little bit. But I think it also is about, it's like anything, the regularity of it. You know, if you just rock up and do a live every so often, and you don't promote it, and you don't tell people you're going to do it, but if you're actually showing up regularly, you're promoting it ahead, you're telling people about what it is, and you're talking about topics that people are interested in, I think it's like with anything, you need to do it consistently, and that will pay off for you.
Definitely. Jan says, thanks. I'm not sure if I do or not. So probably if you don't think you know, you probably haven't, because if you probably know if you applied. So that's, but look into it. Is there a video how-to that you know about on how to stream to LinkedIn? I actually have a how-to article on my blog. If you go to iag.me, I've got a whole article on how you apply, everything about it, including how you can stream from tools like Restream. So definitely check that out, iag.me. And I don't have the exact link. I'll put it in later, but if you just go to iag.me, just scroll down until you see all my articles on live streaming, and you'll find that. Martin also says, yeah, it depends on your connections and defined audience. So yeah, let me know, Martin, what you think about that. You're being attacked by your cat.
No, sorry. I was trying to be all cool about it then, but the tail just the tail gave it away. Yeah, I've got 2 kittens, and they've learned how to break into my office. So that was
and they've been attacking your Christmas tree.
They have. I got rid of the Christmas tree now because they were attacking it. Yeah.
It was good fun. It was good fun. We've got another question from Heather Collins. Is Twitch a good platform to reach the younger demographic? If my stream is a talk stream? Yeah, I would say so. So like Twitch traditionally was for gamers, but it's certainly not now. Not so much now. It is. I mean, there's a lot of creators on there and on Twitch. So definitely check out Twitch. And yeah, there obviously is a younger demographic on Twitch, but so it kind of really depends. I would say, where is your audience, and are you quite active on Twitch? I would say you need to kind of be getting involved in the communities first before you then just launch a show. So yeah, hope that helps. So is the cat situation okay now, Janet? Can you?
Yeah, I've got it under control now.
You've got it under control. Well, this is why we love live video. So let's talk a little bit more about the technicals, the nuts and bolts and things like that. Because so you mentioned you had 3 tracks in a sense. You had one, which was the keynote. Number 2, which was the remind me. I should remember this.
So we had the keynote sessions. In the main Facebook group, we had our expert sessions. They were also streamed into the Facebook group, and then we had these level up sessions. I actually know. I'm lying here. So we had three streams. All of our expert sessions and keynotes were streamed into that one. Then we had this level up sessions, and then we had get it done sessions. So in my membership program that I run, Build Your Online Audience, we have these sessions called Get It Done sessions. They're accountability sessions. So we actually had a third track where we got people to take part in these accountability sessions with us. So people who are not members, and we had to have, as you would in a real event, we had to have somebody who was in charge of each track. So Ian, you were in charge of the keynote track. Another member, my community manager Sam, was in charge of the second track, and actually I also had Ant McGinley, who was our track host as well, and then another team member of mine was in charge of the third track. And because I had to stay in the keynote track with you, which kind of killed me because I couldn't see what was going on in the other tracks, but having a plan and having a schedule to follow. We had a really tight schedule, didn't we? Like I shared some of it on social media afterwards, like literally minute by minute, what was going to be happening in each room, who was doing what, and that was a real lifesaver, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And I think, that's one thing I would say whenever you're planning any event. And actually, if you're planning a live show, it's really important just to do that planning. For this live show, I haven't got like a spreadsheet with minute by minute, Janet says this at, 4:37.5 seconds, but still, I've still got to run a show. That's really important. But for an event like what Janet's talking about here, for an actual virtual conference, it's really vital to know when you speak, how long your speakers are going to be speaking for, and what the contingency plans and all that kind of stuff. So we do need to talk about that. Just another comment from another question from Jan. So just speaking of Facebook, so I'll be interested to know what you think about this, Janet. I'll answer first, and then I'd like to know what your take on this is. So speaking of Facebook, do you recommend streaming to all your pages and your profile, or just one? And if so, which? And I suppose this is really down to where is your audience? So it's a lot easier, I think, to go live to your personal profile, because you tend to get a lot more engagement. It's a lot easier if you want to get comments, if you want to get people watching. If assuming that you are fairly active on Facebook, then you're probably going to get more that way. You're going to get more engagement that way. But the downside, of course, is if you want to do anything fancy later on, like promotes afterwards, you can't boost a live before the event, but you can boost it afterwards. You can promote that. You can do lots of really amazing things. You can also do Facebook Messenger bots and use all that kind of stuff. So you can't obviously do that on your profile. You can only do that on your page. So I think you need to be careful, and you need to be strategic. And it is tempting to maybe go live to all your pages and your profile, but it kind of depends on what you're wanting to do. Now, so this is an interesting question for you, Janet, because for your main event, for your 2021 sorted event, obviously we weren't going to go live everywhere because it was a paid event and it needs to be a private group. But I think most of the time you'd probably just go live, say, to your page or your group or whatever. But for your Christmas market, we did try going to your profile as well. So tell us a little bit more of your thoughts about where you should broadcast to.
Yes, I think obviously it's about where your audience is. And the thing to bear in mind with your profile as well, although not a lot of people take notice of this, is that, it's strictly speaking, it's against Facebook's terms and conditions for you to be doing business on your personal profile. I mean, God knows some people run whole businesses on it. So although we did try for a day streaming to my personal profile, because the Christmas market that we ran was a slightly different sort of event. It wasn't really a kind of massive profit maker. It was, we were putting some of the proceeds to charity, and because it was like a shopping event, it was more consumery. But one thing I would be careful of about if you're, I don't know what you would think about this, Ian, is like strictly speaking, you shouldn't really be using your Facebook profile for business. So I think you have to bear that in mind. I mean, I know a lot of people do, but that doesn't make it right, does it? I think, and it's just something to be mindful of, isn't it?
It's one of those things, actually, that I don't think that many people know that rule exists, and because you see so many people talking about their, I suppose talking about your business, that's not wrong, I don't think. But if you're actually doing business, it kind of, it's a fine line, isn't it? So,
yeah, and I think, like you said, then you're also restricted as if you want to use things like, and I said, my recent Christmas market, we used a messenger bot and it was brilliant. We used a messenger bot to get people in. We were able to, we had 25 sellers across the week all selling products. It was like, online Christmas market. And we were able to take people inside the messenger bot. And we had a sellers gallery. We were able to send people reminders about the shows and follow-ups and what have you. You can't do that kind of thing from your Facebook profile because obviously it's meant to be there for your, for your friends and family. So we did try it for one day, didn't we? And actually we found it did skew the, it caused a couple of problems, didn't it, with commenting and things like that. So in the end, what we did was we just shared it. So we went live from the page that we were using, and we just shared it to my profile so that my family and friends who, sort of happened to kind of drop by, they would see it and then come to the broadcast. But I don't think it necessarily dilutes your audience. And we took the view, didn't we, with the Christmas market, that we would get it in front of as many people as we could. So it was streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube. And even though I'm not massively active on YouTube, but it can cause a few problems depending on what software you're using, like with comments and following comments and things like that. So I think the page is going to be your focus generally, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, one thing that Restream does do, which is really cool, if you switch it on, I haven't tested it with profiles, but it works really well. If you go live to Facebook and YouTube at the same time, for example, the comments from YouTube will be posted to Facebook, and the comments from Facebook will post to. So you could all see each other's comments, which is great. That's the what's it called again? The name's gonna go away from my head, but anyway, yeah, that feature's available in Restream. But yeah, you just got to think about what you trying to do, what's the strategy there, and yeah, Jan says, the question, so I think we've answered this. Does it dilute your audience? And then you cannot tell your analytics. I don't think it does. I think you would say it doesn't really either, but probably the best thing is to test it. And in Restream, you've got the amazing analytic reports. And I think you found that really helpful, Janet, didn't you, in the event, the reports that actually showed you how many people were commenting throughout the video and throughout the live. That was really helpful. So I hope that helps. And Heather says, I'm a portrait artist. So that would be amazing to actually do some painting while live. I've seen people do artists, actually do some art, actually create art live on camera. And I've seen that done on Facebook. I've seen that done on Twitch. So yeah, just test it out. I mean, the best thing to do is test it out on those different channels. And you can then go into Restream Analytics and you can see the number of views, the number of chats, the number of comments, and then just keep trying it and tweak it until you feel you understand where you should be going live. I hope that helps. Cool. So let's go back to, so we had in stream 1, those were the main keynotes. That was done over 2 days, and it'd be really interesting, I think, at this point to think about the contingency plans here, because I think a lot of people don't think about this. They just create it all, they go live, and then things go wrong. Maybe the internet goes down, or maybe Facebook goes down, or something like that. So can you tell us through some of the disaster scenarios that you were thinking that were probably keeping you up at night in the weeks before, and what we did to kind of make those, to put into practice some contingency plans?
Yeah, I mean, you think with a live event, you think about all the things that can go wrong with a live event, but there's like, it's just quadrupled with an online event. And I've run loads of in-person events, but there are some different challenges that come up with online, and even I hadn't anticipated what some of those would be. So it was really a case of sitting down and thinking, what's all the things that could go wrong. So we had for the 2021 sorted event, we had backup streams, didn't we? So the backup plan was if Facebook went down, we would decamp to YouTube, and we had broadcast set up, didn't we, for my channel, for your channel. We also had emails written so that we could move people over quickly. The sessions actually, Zoom was actually harder to have a backup plan for, because there's not actually that, with the Zoom rooms where you can split people into small groups, there's not really that many easy to use alternative. So what we ended up doing was setting up an alternative Facebook group, and we used another app to schedule a live broadcast. And again, we had emails written or whatever as a backup. We also had, for our Zoom rooms as well, we had like, you know, this person, if their internet goes down, then it passes to this person and this person, and it was all kind of written out and documented. But it really was a case of thinking about everything that could go wrong. I also took out quite a hefty insurance policy to cover, you know, the worst thing that could go down would be like, you know, if the UK had a massive big like outage that meant everybody's broadband was down or whatever, and so I took out an insurance policy for that, which was the best part of £1,000. That was quite an investment. But the other thing we did, and actually we only had one tiny thing went wrong, and actually it didn't even really go wrong, did it? But obviously the other thing that we thought could go wrong is what if their internet connection goes down, and you know, there's a problem and we can't get them in. So as part of their contracts, they were required to provide a backup recording. And in the event, we used one of them, didn't we? So we brought, everybody else came in absolutely fine. We also had rehearsals as well. I think that's really important, that we had a rehearsal where we ran through everybody's tech, and we made sure that they were using the same tech on the day that they, you know, the idea was that they're supposed to be using the same tech. Most of them were good about it. Some of them were not so good, but they had a rehearsal. We tested all their kit to check that everything worked. And so that was important. But yeah, on the day we just had Steve Dotto was coming in from Canada, and I don't know what happened, but he had some problems with his internet access. And we were able to make the decision really quickly to swap over to his recording. His recording was so good that I think some people who would have rocked up later probably didn't even realize it was a recording, because it was so good. And then we were able to bring him back for the questions. And I actually think, rather than it being like a downer, I think some people were so impressed by how we handled it, because we had a contingency plan and we just calmly switched to the video, didn't we? That everybody was like, wow, that's really good. But I think it is just thinking about all the things that could go wrong. Rehearsals, planning. I mean, the Christmas market that we ran last week, we had a full day of rehearsals, didn't we? We did 25 sellers across the week, but people still turned up, you know, like, you know, despite our advice, in slightly the wrong setup or with new pieces of kit or whatever. I think when you're dealing with professional speakers, generally that part of it will go more smoothly. But it's just thinking about all the things that could go wrong, and having some kind of backup for it. And I think we thought about most things, but there wasn't anything I think that took us by surprise, and that's good, isn't it? And there's more things that I would put in place probably for next year based on what happened, but actually it pretty much went okay, didn't it?
It did, yeah. And I was worried about my internet just in case it went down, so I invested in a 4G modem, just thought, you know, if my internet went down, I could switch over to that. So I think it's important to have those contingencies. I mean, you know, sometimes, you know, there could have been like a catastrophic event that would, like, everyone's internet went down in the whole of the country. There's not much you can do about that. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, people are going to be understanding if things like that happen. So now I noticed that you used the word brill earlier, and I was thinking I think I used the word brill. And I was just, out of interest, was wondering, is that a very British word? So let us know in the comments. Do you use the word brill? If something's brill, let me know. I'm just really interested, because I'm sure there are words that we use that are very specific to our country.
Yeah, I think I've had this conversation with someone from the US before, and they didn't know what I was talking about, and I was thinking, like, what is this brill thing? So that's my really bad American accent. Yeah, I think
we've lost all our viewers now. Thank you.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I think it is one of those words that we use. That's probably quite a British word, isn't it? Short for brilliant, if you're not sure what we're talking about.
Yeah. Excellent, fantastic. I think fantastic is quite a British thing as well. But anyway, just in case you have no idea what we're talking about, be interested to know. Put it in the comments if you have heard of the word brill before. So yeah, let's talk. So just to recap what you were saying, we were broadcasting to a Facebook group, and there was a private group, and obviously not you only people who'd paid for the event had access to that. But as well as that, and we were using Restream to broadcast to the group, that also allowed us to get to see the comments, which was great. So we were able to highlight the comments on the screen and everything like that. But we also scheduled all of these in advance. So we actually had, I think it was 3 streams on the first day and 4 streams on the second day. And we scheduled all of those in advance. And then and then as well as scheduling it for Facebook, we also scheduled it for YouTube. Now, because this was a private event, we didn't want everyone then just to gain access on the YouTube. So we created those as unlisted videos. And that's where the emails came into it, because, of course, if Facebook went down, Janet and her team all had emails ready to go that would say something like, I don't know what the email said, but it was something like, emergency, Facebook is down, here's the link to YouTube. It was something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah. It basically said that. It was like, just decamp to YouTube. Yeah, it was all written out in advance.
Yeah, so thankfully we did not need to use that. And the other thing to say about, do think it's a really good idea if you're going to do a virtual event. One is to make sure that I think it's a really good idea to do it live. There's something just really powerful about it being live. But make sure that you do have videos of all your speakers, pre-recorded videos as well, just in case, because it means you can switch over to them. And in Restream, you can upload them into the library. But you've also got this feature which I don't think that many people know about. It's the ability to play a local video. So you can have all your speakers' videos on your computer, and if something were to go wrong with the internet connection of your speaker, you just click on the play a local video and then just select the video that you want to play from your computer, and it will stream that live. So it's really, really cool. Nick Lazarus is here. He says, never heard of Brill in the US. So there we go. It's a very British thing. Yes. There we go. Hope you're doing well, Nick. It's been a while since spoken to you. I hope things are all right where you are in the US. So so I think having all of those contingency plans is really important. Now, of course, the other thing that I think was integral to the success, and by the way, we should say, I mean, how many people were watching the event and involved?
So we sold, I think it was 511 tickets by the day. We've sold more since, because obviously all the recordings are available and it's a digital product now. But we had, I think some of the live sessions had 300 and odd, well over 300 people watching live, which is amazing. So it was a busy event. It was a well-attended event.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and Harry's saying Brill ? So I'm glad we clarified that. Just sometimes we need to translate. So yeah, Brill is brilliant. So so that was good. But I think the other thing that what really was so important to the success of the event was all that planning was really important. But then the other thing, of course, was your team. You had a team doing lots of different things. So obviously I was producing the first stream. You had another team member doing the second one. And then you had a designer and somebody on the bot. Tell us a little bit more about the importance of that, and which bits, if you've got a limited budget, which bits are the most important parts to putting on a virtual event?
Yeah, I think it's important to be realistic about what you can do yourself and where you might need to bring in help. So I think most of us would struggle to run a 500 plus person event in person or online, because I mean, one of the biggest challenges, for example, is having all the speakers in the right place at the right time, which obviously is a challenge in the real world, but actually at least they're kind of in the building with you. So we had a dedicated member of staff whose job was we had 2 of them actually. So Lisa in my team worked with Sam, and her job was literally just to check that everybody was in the waiting room at the right time and to call them if they weren't, or message them or get hold of them somehow. And you can imagine in total it was about 40 speakers in the end, and various team members. That's a lot of people to make sure they're in the right place at the right time. So that's really important. I think having somebody like in this case it was me that was overseeing the whole thing, but I guess you could bring in an external events manager, but just making sure that everybody has their job and their responsibility. So on my team, obviously I had Ian, who's contractor, not on my team, but he was managing the main track. Then I had Sam, my community manager, who was managing the level up track. Then I had another team member, Julie. Hers was a lot smaller, but she had another track she was managing. And then I have a designer that works with me. So there's actually quite a lot, I mean, this is kind of less to do with the live broadcast side, but still, we had like countdown timers, didn't we? And in the warm up before we went live, we had questions and follow up slides and competitions. And there's actually quite a lot of content that you need to think about. And one of the important things about a live event is obviously keeping that buzz going. So we had, while we were sort of waiting to go live each day, people started to enjoy it, didn't they? The questions that we asked, and we're trying to get people interacting and like talking back to us before we even started. Theme music for our Christmas market, we even composed. Well, Ian did it, but we composed our own theme music. This is a different event I'm talking about here, but you can get really creative, is what I'm saying with this stuff. We had our own theme for the Christmas market that we sang and recorded our own parts too, which was really fun, wasn't it? But you can get really creative. But we had to pick out music, didn't we? We had like a reoccurring sort of like theme show, of course, the theme tune for the 2 days, and then we had like breakout music. So that's where the schedule is really important, making sure that you're giving people enough time to get on with things. Just trying to think who else was in my team. So we also had somebody managing the messenger bot. Having a messenger bot is brilliant actually for live events, to remind people of when the sessions are coming up, to let people know about any prep that they might need to do, to follow up with people with recordings. Using a messenger bot is a great way to keep people engaged, as you can run competitions. We had various competitions and giveaways and whatever. And I think the thing with an online event, even more so than in person, is just keeping that buzz going. We had socials are really important as well. So on the first night, Ian mentioned it already, but we had a Zoom bar. So one of the delegates organised a bar for us, and we had a magician, and that was actually a last minute thing, which I was so glad that I did. If you are doing a virtual event, I think about the entertainment, because sticking people in Zoom and saying, hey, we did have like rooms with karaoke and various things going on, but actually having a magician, it was lovely. He did 3 20-minute shows. People actually came back in the evening and brought their kids with them, because we had three shows, and it was really nice. It just gave the event a whole different feel. We had a pajama party. There were like prizes for the best pajamas and all sorts. So there is a lot, I think, that goes into kind of keeping the buzz and the excitement going. But I think we pulled it off, and I felt like actually it was a more enjoyable event in a way, because there wasn't any of the stress of traveling. As an event organizer, actually, I think I found it less stressful, because it was stressful because I was doing a lot of the presenting as well and leading a lot of the workshops, but there was something quite nice about being at home and not having to worry about travel and getting anywhere and lugging suitcases and stuff. And there's a lot to be said for virtual events. It really was. A lot of people said it was the best event they've ever been to. Like, I don't know what that says, but I think we managed, to make up for the bit. I think the only bit that people would really miss is the sort of chatting at the bar and in the coffee queue and whatever. But I think we managed to replicate that well enough so people didn't feel that they missed out.
I think the virtual bar thing was the bit that surprised me, but I think having a magician in there and just having some fun and the breakout rooms, it was just really well organized. So yeah, so Harry, I can see Harry Jameson saying that good info. I'm doing an event for the military veterans in 2 weeks. Learned a few here. If I can read it, learned a few things here. Well, that's awesome. I'd love to know more about your event, and what are you thinking about doing, Harry? You're probably not thinking about putting on a big theme song like we did, but there might be some other things that you'd be doing. So, but I think, just making it more creative. And so I suppose the next question I've got to ask you, Janet, is, so now that you were very happy with the success of this, and you think almost it was better than a real live event, what are you going to do next year? Assuming in 2021 that we're going to get back to some vague sense of normality, are you going to think about doing as a virtual event or a hybrid event? What do you think is the future as we come out of this pandemic?
Well, it's really difficult to say, isn't it? It's difficult to predict. We do have a venue booked in Newcastle for next year for the live version of the event. But of course, the best time to put the tickets on sale for your next event is when you've got people in the room with you at your current event. So that's what we normally do. So we put the tickets on sale, and we've already sold, I think we've sold 120, I think off the top of my head, tickets already. And what we've said to people is, if we can put the event on live or an element of it online, you will be, basically it's kind of like first come, first serve. So if we can offer 50 in-person tickets, then you will get first dibs. If we can offer 100, we just don't know. That's the thing. So we had to be very transparent with our marketing and just make it really clear that we didn't know. And so I basically said it will definitely have a virtual element to it. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but certainly everybody will get all of the recordings, and it will be recorded. But it's difficult to say like what it's going to look like. And, if we have a hybrid event, how that might work. Like we've chatted very briefly, haven't we, about streaming it. Like streaming it from home is like from your home office is like the perfect way to do it, really, isn't it? You can control the environment a lot better, can't you? Whereas streaming it from a live event venue, it brings a whole load of other things that you can't control so well. So I guess it's a case of having to play it by ear, but it's exciting because potentially you can reach a lot more people. One of the things that was great actually is that a lot of my clients who are in the US, for example, they were able to take part and they were delighted. Whereas, in the past they'd heard me talking about it on my podcast and kind of thought, well, I'm never going to be able to make it to that event because it means, a big trip to the UK. So it does open up possibilities, but I think a hybrid event for me feels more challenging because if you're going to broadcast from a hotel where part of the event is live, like I say, there's factors that you can't control quite so well. But
hotel internet.
Yeah, we things we just don't know, do we? Like we just don't know what's ahead of us. So I think it's just about being really transparent with clients that if we can get some element of it in person, we will do, because that's what we've promised. But I don't know. I was thinking like around the time of the event, I was kind of thinking there's no way that we'll be able to have in-person events. But then in the UK, of course, they've just announced the vaccine. In fact, I think the first person's had their vaccine today, haven't they? It's a big news story. So, if we've all had our vaccine by then, like maybe we will. I don't know. But at the moment, it feels feels unlikely that we'll be able to have, the idea of having like a 400-person event doesn't feel likely. The idea that we might be able to have, I don't know, some people there and almost it be like a TV studio, that's almost what I'm imagining it could be like. It could almost be like you would be broadcasting it live, but you would have an audience. But again, I just don't know. So and I think the thing that we've learned this year, and I'm sure we're going to keep learning next year, is just being flexible and being adaptable. And it's so great that we've got these tools at our disposal to kind of help us do that, which that in itself is great.
Yeah So right, it is amazing. It's been a difficult year, there's no question about it, but we have been so blessed with the technology, the fact that we can put on these amazing events and get people all around the world over to your event, even though they can't be there physically, is amazing. And I can see Harry, this is great. I love this. He's saying it's a comedy event to cheer up our veterans using Zoom and unlisted YouTube. That's going to be awesome. So maybe that's something you need to think about next year. Get a comedian, Janet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, but just some final thoughts. If over the next few months, anyone's thinking about putting on a virtual event, what are maybe the three things that they need to think about? What are the most important things that they need to put into place in order to make it a successful event?
I think high quality. So in terms of costs, my costs weren't actually that dissimilar in total to a live event. The only thing is you don't have to feed people, which does bring the cost down. If you are feeding people at an event, it brings it down quite a lot. So for me, it was about production quality. So my biggest investment was in you, Ian, and making sure, I would. It depends on the side of the event and what you're trying to achieve. But I think if you're trying to achieve a big event, I've seen some organisations trying to put on big events, and themselves. And I think actually you need to bring in a professional. That would be my first thing, is to hire somebody who knows what they're doing online. And actually there's few and far between at the moment, I think. And then secondly, I think it's about contingency planning. So thinking about all the things that could go wrong. And I think the third most important thing is about just finding ways for people to kind of meet each other and talk that don't feel awkward. Like we did with our level up sessions, it's finding ways for people to kind of to replicate the in-person experience online without it being all kind of yucky and awkward. So they would be the three things for me.
Awesome. Well, that's really, really helpful stuff. I know that people here are really thanking you, Janet, for all of that information. I know Harry is going to be doing this amazing event, so he's also going to be using Eventbrite and Restream. So that's great. So Eventbrite for the actual event and for the ticketing, I assume, and Restream for the actual broadcasting. So all the best with that, Harry. I hope that goes really well. And yeah, just keep in touch. Let us know if you've got any events coming up that you're going to go to, or if you are putting on an event. That would be amazing. And I hope this show today, this episode, has been really helpful for you in all of that. I know it's been really helpful for me just to hear your thoughts on it, Janet. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, let us know where people can find out more about you, Janet.
So the best place to find me is at my website, which is janetmurray.co.uk. If you are on social media, which I'm sure you probably are, the best place to find me is on Instagram at janmurrayuk.
I'm just putting it up. I should have done this before, but there we go. I've got that on the screen. That's I hope I've spelt it right, because I did that really, really quickly. Super typing. Captions in Restream. This is the great thing about it. So yeah, do check out Janet at janetmurray.co.uk. And just another shout out to your Instagram account. Is it Jan
Murray UK? Yeah, no underscore. Jan Murray UK. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Well, we're out of time. It's very sad. But just to let you know, this show is live every Tuesday at 4 p.m. in the UK. That's 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And if you want to be notified next time we go live, where is my button for this? I always need to get this. Where's it gone? Can't find it. Anyway, if you go to too many things, if you go to iag.me/restream, you can be notified for, in fact, it's not, it's confident.live. There we go. Confident.live/restream. That's the one. Go to confident.live/restream. My handy Facebook Messenger bot will let you know next time we go live. And if you want to sign up for Restream, just go to iag.me/restream. That you can sign up for a free account. They've also got some paid plans as well. So definitely check that out. But we're out of time. So just to let you know, next week we've got something exciting happening. I'm not going to tell you any more than that, but next week something exciting is going to happen. So until next time, I encourage you to expand your audience and reach through the power of multi-streaming video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Go Live with Restream from Ian Anderson Gray, the show from Restream that helps you expand your audience and reach through the power of multi-streaming video. Visit iag.me/Restream for more. And until next time, toodaloo.